when we hear each other, it is not because of the words we speak, but it is because of the heart that is open. So when your body is connected, because you have nervous system sovereignty, so you have self-sovereignty, you will hear with open ears, and therefore we will be able to have a good time and have fun. And while I will allow myself to continue sharing with you who I believe are morons and stupidity human beings, I'm going to try and master the prefrontal cortex of Maria and let you know I didn't like liars when I was a kid. I still don't. And low emotionally intelligent human beings are not even intelligent in my personal subjective opinion, and that is due to the lack of their complete emotion regulation skills. They don't know how to be in their self-regulated self, and they don't want to know that they don't know the difference, because they can't be their self until they go and get out of dysregulation and their mass self. So when you meet a fake one, they're not going to be back at IHP. And when you make a fake one, they're going to 3D, 4D, be not only manipulable like the back of the hand, we had a short that I shared with you all. They're also going to not only think they're intelligent, they will lack complete capacity to have emotional maturity. And so they follow around the individuals who give them the story that they believe is true. That would be beginning with the whole thing of the evil stuff. Yes, so when I hear good or bad, I'm like, how old are you? As if you're a child, then I get it. But if you're after you're 25 years of age, now I have a grown-up brain, and so by the time you're in your mid-20s, if you still don't know how to discern because you don't know how to be yourself in the ordinary intelligence of two sides of the brain, I met him as a teenager. So emotionally immature people to Maria are stupid. I'm stupid to emotionally immature people because they lack the capacity to notice that two are not the only subject matters. So long story short, low emotional intelligence are low self-esteem, indirect communicators, they're passive aggressive. They do not understand that all God's children are good, and all children are good. You cannot physically over coddle anything, because I will be able to give you good self-regulation skills, which means coddle you and smooch you to death if I want. And then as you grow up, once you're a adolescent, now you have the next level parenting group where you're going to go and begin to be immature, and I as a grown human being can share, okay, these are emotionally immature behaviors. Somebody who's calling a whore a polyamory, immature. Somebody who's calling a monoamory a whore because they cheated, immature. Someone who wants to give a good example of what a woman can tell you as a polyamory one. I laugh at all of this shit. But when someone's like, you're not poly enough, oh wow, that's not nice, that's really not nice. And when others are like, our society was made to be polyamory. No, our society was made to be monoamory. Really, humanly speaking, you all, like I, have this thing called a 0-1-year-old and our mammalian heritage. So long story short, I'm attachment trauma educated. I'm not going to educate you on all of it, but what I'm going to tell you is 3D, 4D follow their pseudo-intellectuals. I'm pseudoscience because I know who scientists are. And I'm going to read you something because this is beautiful. So science proves all of God's children are good, and when someone tells me that I'm rejected by those who I was raised by good Christian Catholic upbringing. So I know Jesus, I know Holy Trinity, Holy Spirit, and God, and I'm in communion with God. And as one of his spokespeople, so you can use the word prophet, guru, enlightened one. You use all the words here because anima mundi. The ones who say we can't, you let them speak. The minute that someone says you can't use all the words together, as I said at the beginning, you don't hear me because of the words I use. You hear me because your heart's open. And the minute I hear that, I'm reminded of, excuse me, random human being, you're confused in science spirituality. I say, no, I'm not. I bring them together. I'm a spiritual personal growth, mystic, mentor, content creator, podcast host. I help people be themselves. Why would they need you? They don't need me. They want me because they're emotionally intelligent and know what mindfulness practices are for, because they have mindsight skills, because they sift sensations, images, feelings, and thoughts, because they're not deluded by their imagination. They're also not deluded by their own implicit or explicit memory. They're bilaterally, vertically, overall integrated. Nervous system sovereignty and self-sovereign. People love to cry and get angry and get afraid the healthy way. So our panic attacks don't destabilize us, nor do any of the things that arise. We like to be emotionally mature, and when we do fail, we can't fail. when we actually are not able to present the emotionally mature version of ourselves. We apologize. I'm so sorry. My bad. I got reactive. Can we start over? Because I really want to continue as a function of child adult to conversation. I'm really into it, so can we do a good job at having conversations? Great. Awesome. So that's why it's not the words, it's the heart. When people are open, when someone's not open, they like to do little games. I play with games. All of them. They're all fun. That's how it works. When you're a 3-year-old, you're like, yep, I can see you. Oh, you don't have to see me. It's okay. I see myself. It's cool. Yeah, that's how it works. I don't need you to soothe me. I'm a securely attached, untraumatized person. That's why you have more fun. Once you get past the courage and strength. I got rejected at 4. I got disowned at 8. I got curious as I met morons as a teenager. I stopped using the word on purpose. By the time I got to college, I met people who would fucking be miserable. The mammalian heritage. My lovely facade friend is the only man I ever yelled at in his face. All I have to do is be yourself. And he has the biggest Achilles. No, he has the same Achilles heel every other person has. Drama kings and drama queens and drama everything. They don't know emotional regulation skills. They don't want them because they follow around morons who say, I'm going to dismantle with one finger the modern day therapists. They're trying to imprison us. And then they go on and wheel their mouth like this. It's dangerous to have no emotions. Physically impossible to not have emotions, FYI. Another person is a cynic who says, I want it to be low. It's about what is right, not what feels right. You're all feels, dude. Your first 3 years of life. So intelligence, I'm Maria all through and through. My implicit memory when it comes up. So sorry. Shit comes up, Mom. I know. Thanks for letting me be angry healthily. So let's talk about left and right, shall we? Put your left foot in and your right foot in and you shake it all about and you do the hokey pokey. And that's why being ordinary is intelligent. Being somebody who wants to always be right, wow, that's boring and you're not. But I'm not going to try to say anything. Pseudo-intellectuals, we spot them. I do. There's no devil or demon inside anyone. God's perfection, all his children, they all can get their A game on. He allows me to be here, and I allow myself to be here. Neil deGrasse, come on in. Science. You don't have to believe in God if you don't. But the whole evil, there's Michael Stone, forensic criminologist scale. Suffering, a bunch of people who don't know how to wheel their nervous system. Ignorance, not hilarious. No, hilarious to the bejesus of me. I started with a quote at a certain point of how it's disgusting to see ignorance. Now I'm thinking, you know what? I'm pretty much done with the disgusting part. I got over that a bit ago. I'm more into like, wow, I can laugh about it now. Anytime I'm seeing someone ignorant, I'm like, well, there's another teenager. Oh, look, there's another one. Oh, look, and that's why assholes, we can all be an asshole, but they are hilarious. If you operate out of the straitjacket of logic, you, remain a clown in the circus of life. That's what happens when people pick at every word, don't notice that their heart isn't invested. I, on the other hand, am allowing them to dress me up with all the words they want, and that's why being ordinarily stupid and yourself is really awesome. And then being not mediocre, but oh sure, I can be considered mediocre. That's amazing. I definitely do have weaknesses. I don't do well with math. And so that's something I don't understand. But other than that, I understand. And if I don't, I have a question, Professor. Can you explain it again? No, there's no stupid questions. I have a question, Professor. I'm going to still ask. I still don't. Are you stupid? Yes, I'm stupid. Can you try again, though? Because I really don't understand it. So that's how it works when you know what it means to not be able to understand something. When, on the other hand, you're capable of sharing something called a subjective opinion that you understand and that you know where it's coming from. You see, so to the words that we use, though, we can use words differently, which is another thing, which is why, I don't carry a dictionary around me, but luckily I now have a phone. So sometimes I'll be like, you know what, I think we are using words differently. Let's try and look it up. Okay, yeah, you know what? I really fucked up. I use words because of their sound. I'm a right brainer and then a left brainer, and I just do frequency all the time. So I've used words that are completely in my brain, like they mean something completely different. And people are like, well, you should learn better. And I won't. I can't retain information. I don't know why. Nobody's been able to figure it out. Maybe I'm slow. Can I be slow? I'm okay with being slow. Okay, good. So we have all of our 5D collective still on board. Nothing is more terrible than those than those who accept mediocre people and then copy them. No, that is terrible to see. But then again, they like to, misery wants company. So low frequency people, they like to be in that which is called their low dopamine hits. I have friends on Pinocchio's Island. They looked at me one evening, all of them, and I love them to death. And they look at me as they're drinking their 8th beer, I forget, but that's what they said. I've been drinking all day, Maria. Uh-huh. And I said, okay, so, and they're saying, here, they're looking at a study. By the way, this is not only one of these lovely friends. They're looking at a study. It's bad for me to stop drinking, because see, and I'm like, no, it's not, what are you talking about? Let me see this. And the study does talk about, yes, a bunch of people dying from stopping to drink. And I'm thinking, okay, are we talking about addiction? Is this withdrawal symptoms? In my brain, I'm thinking there has to be a mathematical explanation. Because, so long story short, though, some would say that it's irresponsible of us to allow people to continue to drink like that. They looked at me in the eye and said, I'm going to stay this way. And I smoke cigarettes. And I'm not going to be judgmental, because then they're going to think I'm being too serious. So guess what? The friend next to me, I'm looking at, say, am I supposed to accept that this is happening? No, Maria, have a little fun. You think this is fun. Okay, well, I love you all just the way you are. I will let you have your fun, and there's the laws, and there you go. Do we want to make illegal? Does anybody want to make alcohol illegal? Smoking, cigarettes, marijuana for now is still illegal. So, it's funny when you hear grown-ups telling you the system wants to hold them down, because it's actually regulating cigarettes, and it's regulating the use of alcohol when driving, and a bunch more. And then you get to watch movies that don't want to portray any cigarettes, but they get to portray a bunch of people drinking to the bejesus of them. Let me think. When I was in college, so the mammalian heritage, I know I mentioned that. The 0-1-year-old of every human being wants to share their life with one other human being, because they don't want to get eaten by the bear. And I'm bringing it in Maria's way, the layman terms, if you will, and those are, that's bullshit. Sure, whatever. I mean, really, I learned all about being a human, and I keep learning from neuroscientists, neurobiologists, mental health professionals, the ones that are smart because they know how we're made. The ones who are stupid, I laugh at. The pseudo-intellectuals who say the trauma is the event, and you actively see as they're completely egoically involved in themselves, and you think, wow. One human being thinks they can outsmart the entire keep of researchers who are devoting their life to help humanity, and the only ones who fall for that bullshit are the same ones who don't want to access, lo and behold, their bodies. So am I impressed by idiocy? No. Do I think humanity is going to be done? No, it's not. Humanity always thrives. No, always. That's a big word. I've only been alive as a human 45 years of my life, and this is one of my many lifetimes, and I know of other galactic beings. I am a mystic. I do come from the future, and I also do believe and experience my mystic life always. So for me, it's not fake or pretend, but I won't make you believe in any of it. So what I can tell you, logically speaking and rationally speaking, thank you, Neil deGrasse, I won't be born in a trillion years, or whatever, how he puts it. It's a miracle that I am alive, and scientists continue to build data. So restorative, embodied, self-aware, accountable, regulating people, they're badass, the real kind. The morons are out there for the ones who don't want any of this, and I do call them morons because I'm very irritated by liars. And it doesn't matter if they're a grown-up or a child. I don't like a liar. That's a 3-year-old here who didn't get shut down when she got angry and said, I'm Maria, or didn't get shut down in any of my little angry fits. So no, there's no over-coddling. There's actively 0-8 codependent human being children who need to be let to be all their little selves. Then once they begin to get into the 8 to 16, now you can begin to have them learn emotional regulation skills, and calling a child bad, that's not nice. And teaching them the difference between good and bad, of course, using words, yes, but any human being grown up who looks at a child, 11-year-old, that's what happens to bad children. Yeah, fuck that shit. You know what I mean? So I have no interest in having emotionally immature grown-ups around, because they don't inspire human potential, let alone do they leave behind a game legacy. They leave behind a bunch more of mediocrity, which is very clear, maladaptive patterns of behavior. They succumb to their own window of small tolerance instead of going to therapy. They like to look in a screen and say it's dangerous to have no emotions. It's not inherently healthy or enlightening to be non-reactive. And I think, wow, I see you want to be reactive and a stupid one. There's your Achilles heel. But I'm not going to play with that, because that's a lame-ass coward's game, to be spiteful to each other, you see? So when you meet teenagers and then you meet them as grown-ups, you don't think, oh my God, there's a monster somewhere. You think, wow, that's a not impressive way of wielding your words, but I know who's going to follow that shit. Nothing is more terrible than to see ignorance in action. Yes, so people who actually look up and praise a human being in a fancy suit, woman, man, it don't matter if they're in naked. The minute I spot a pseudo-intellectual, I just know the only ones who are going to follow them around and praise them are the same ones who think that they're good and bad children, and children who can get overcoddled. Well, I'll know that a bad child, quote unquote, who grows up to be maladaptive, yeah, they weren't given a shot. And the ones who want to talk to me about how the brain is made, I learned all about the embodied brain and chemistry. And I don't know it to the depths of me because I can't regurgitate, but there's an answer to how their embodied brain works. And you know who wants to help them? People like Dr. Daniel Fox, who doesn't call narcissists unhealable, or borderline for that matter. People like Dr. Daniel Siegel, who helps all people. So the good grown-ups who want to help all humanity will talk about integration and the body. Bessel van der Kolk. The ones who are bad grown-ups in my book want to continue to use their ancient history. They're rigid like rigid can be, and you can notice why their rigidity continues to be what they are presenting, because they look like those ancestors of ours who cut off the legs of Elvis, and that's so boring. Also, they continue to judge the youth. The youth is way better off than it used to be. Then again, the youth also faces the same situations that my youth faced. Luckily, I'm a grown-up now, and so I can say there's no bad children. There's only children who are children. Then there's the bad grown-ups who could get a reality check, go get emotionally regulated, get their brain integrated, and get out of my face personally when I'm having to meet them. I was taught manners by my mother, so I can't tell an emotionally immature person anything in their face. Plus, I'm 4'9". They'd beat me up, and they wouldn't like what I'd have to say. But also, I really don't want to waste my breath, because I will know that, sure, if you treat an individual as he is, he will remain how he is, which means you don't want to treat an emotionally immature people just the way they're treating you, like those teenage friends of mine. But if you treat him as if he were what he ought to be and could be, he will become what he ought to be and could be. Thank you, Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, but that's not true. I will always treat people the way they could be, which means emotionally mature. Emotionally immature people don't notice when they bring shit to the table and say, I'm sorry, I was an asshole because I was reactive, because I was all in my feels about whoever knows what the fuck it was. But that's okay, because, you know, you be the bigger person. This is why it's not about unfair, fair. And when people are still, oh my God, I want an apology. From who? They can't give you an apology. As Stephen Porges points out, biologically rude people, they don't know how to have space for anybody else. Furthermore, they follow assholes around who continue to tell them that those of us who are sweet and compassionate are overcoddled and bullshit. And I think, sure we are. Continue with your mouths as you wield them the way you want, and continue following around the morons who, that's why, as I say, sorry, God. So God's chiming in right now. I'm trying to be here for the ones who want to be mature, so I'm not being that mature right now. But yeah, they irritate the fuck out of me, like my facade friend. I yelled in his face for a reason. I don't like liars. I don't lie. I'd rather tell you the truth. But there are some times where I am quite, what's the word, irrational? No. I can be quite, I don't know what the word is. I need to think about the word. But in the meantime, being yourself is really fun because, see, I don't hold anything back. So I have advisors. My younger sister, she's one of my best advisors because she's known me since I was a kid. So she knows every single bit of all angles. And so sometimes she'll be like, okay, you need to, that's too much. And I'm like, why? Because it's too much. No, it's not. Yes, Maria. No. Okay, fine. You know, whatever. So this is where you have to hold things back, because otherwise you can make people's feelings hurt. I don't know how to lie, so she helps me sometimes, and she does talk sense to me. So does my mother, so does my twin, so do other people, but they're your primary, in my case, alloparenting collective, so I like to make sure to hear them out, because they know me, I know myself too, but they know everything about all of me, so it's really good to make sure that I can continue to be a socially acceptable human being out there, and God also likes to remind me that all my brothers and sisters, they're equally loved. I like to let you know, by the time I was 20, with no attachment trauma education, I knew there was no devil or demon inside anyone. Because when you meet coward after coward after coward after coward after coward after coward after, that's why I'm like, yeah, sure, bad what? Where's the bad? How old are you again? I'm so sorry. Did you not learn healthfully how to spot? There's a bad one. I'm so sorry, God. So there's an emotionally immature bunch of grown-ups over there, and there's the smart ones who are doing everything they can to let people know, hey, it's a wonderful, it's a wonderful, it's a wonderful, good luck, my babe, it's a wonderful. I love that song, even though I don't believe the song is about somebody sticking around. So anyways, I like to do this. This is story time. I decided that we're going to have stories today. So don't be too harsh on the neurologist of the day. I'm reading from page 6. They didn't propagate the left-right myth. The press did. Oh, surprise, surprise. I'm not, actually. My political science bachelor's degree taught me how what bleeds leads. Not for smart people, only for dumb ones. D-U-M-B. That's how I feel about anybody who is buffooned by their own 14-month-old. I'm letting you all know I'm from the future, and I'm not joking. It's very easy to know when I have an emotionally immature one. They are reactive. Ting. I don't do it on purpose. Which is why I learned how not to do any of this shit by the time I was 18 and by the time I was 20, because I really don't have time to waste with morons. I don't like to be around ignorance. My ears, it gets boring. I tune people out because I don't want to waste their time and I feel disrespectful. I say, look, I can't hear you anymore. I know we love each other. I've accepted you as you are. You've accepted me as I am. I can't hear what you're saying. Turn around and go speak to those people who really love your stories. I can't. You're like a little buzzard right now. I'm just so sorry. And my friend and I, we have a deal. And every time they forget, I'm like, get off your hand. He's a big human being and he doesn't realize that he's like a kid. And so sometimes I have to like calm down. Oh, I miss my friends. Yes, I have some friends that I can't see for now, so I miss them. Doesn't matter how unfortunate it is that I get to watch as they continue with their ways, but I do love them unconditionally. Because again, God gives us free will, and all of his children are perfect. And if they want their B game, that's their perfection in this lifetime. They're not monsters. Prophecy, it speaks forth mind and heart of God. God likes to encourage, comfort, support, and challenge his children. And as for creatorship and divinity, none of us embody it, because if we did, then we'd all be living heaven in the body. In the meantime, we don't, because there are those who believe you've been determined. Thanks, Robert Spolsky. But you have been determined. But you can go get yourself to a therapist room like Patrick Tian to get out of the lack of capacity to regulate yourself. So people who don't know how to self-regulate, they don't like equanimity, they think it's bad. They don't like resilience, they think that's bad. They actively don't laugh inside and out, and they think you have to suffer in life, while I say no, you physically don't, but some will have suffered in life. Once they will have learned how to use stress because they know how to self-regulate. That's why they like emotional resilience, which means you also have mental resilience, which means you're intelligent, which means you have fun with any conversation. And even when someone doesn't understand what you're saying, you don't really give a shit because you're just enjoying yourself like I am right now. And those who are sticking around do too, because we don't try to prove shit. The proving people are in the research labs, and then there's the ones who like to think that their one word and their 10 books are like proof. Sure they are. No, they're not. They're not. But hey, you know what? Continue being. So when I meet the actual good intellectuals, they're fun to be around. When I meet the pseudo-intellectuals, I laugh. I'm pseudoscience because I'm a mystic spiritual one. I'm not here to prove God. I'm not here to prove science. I'm here to say be you. And I'm a mentor and content creator and podcast host who's saying it's really easy to be ordinary. Right now I'm being ordinary. And I do channel and download, yes, I do, but I do it very differently because my body doesn't get taken over by anyone, because I'm a nervous system sovereign human being with an integrated brain. So it's a conduit, and I'm participating as we speak. But I do know the energetic imprint of that, which is every single bit of information that comes through my lovely ears. So yeah, the heart. If it's open, awesome. If it's not, you'll know, and you'll begin to have fun with it like I do. Confusing science spirituality. No, I'm not. I bring them together. No, because I'm a mystic too. Really. Yeah. Excuse me. No. And I get show and tell, and that's your 3-year-old. So now I know my little brother, who's a grown human being man, wants to be heard. No, I really don't have time for this, but I'm curious, because that's what happens when you're a left. Excuse me. Let me go there. Your left brain is a fascinated child, and your right brain is a indulging parent. So yes, Maria allows herself to be all of herself, and anybody who has ever tried to shame me, I'm not a bad girl, and there's no bad girls or bad boys. But if there are any bads, it's called, are you being insensitive right now to your brothers and sisters? It's not really nice. Let's talk it out, and we be mediators. And whenever people don't like mediators, they don't want to be around ventral energy. So we have left brain delusional idiot. Yeah, the logical assholes who are clowns and who then don't know how it works to be, like Terry Real points out, in that which is relationships, we all have subjective reality and opinion. So when you're having fun, you like to talk about it. When you're not and want to prove, and that's why I don't actually follow anyone around. And when I see bullies, quote unquote, meaning people who get together, our group is right, I think, wow, okay. And when you see a big group of people who are treating another human being like a little piece of shit, yeah, and they want to say that they're the self-righteous good kind, yeah, anything that is good is going to teach with integrity. And with integrity means you treat people like people. So you treat them as they ought to be, meaning they're A game, which is why you play the bigger person, because that's exactly what it means to be a grown-up. Emotionally mature people don't treat people like shit. You don't need to call them bad. You don't need to shame them. There's no need for any of that. You look at a person, you treat them with respect, and that is about it. And then if they're immature, to be saluted, they will stay that way because they don't go to therapy. And then there's the women and men who basically, besides a smart, emotionally mature human being on YouTube who came back around with the word compassionate boundaries or whatever word he said, you didn't tell me you didn't like him. No, Mom, I didn't. I acted like a cold fucking bitch like my men friend said I had to, because apparently being affectionate, polyamory, and a bunch more things confuse people. Wonder why. Oh, wait, there's bad men out there and bad women, too. That means emotionally immature human beings. I get to see it all over the screen, by the way, and all over books as well. So what do I get? Oh, great job, Maria, for being that which is a woman who was able to be a bitch. That's the one thing I got from this guy who I explained the story to. The women were, you could get in his face. You could let him get away with it. Neither are actually accurate. Healthy self-worth means I did sovereign boundaries. So it's like, I don't even like using these big words, but people who are emotionally mature would know that what I did is called the right thing, because the person who needs help is the immature human being who, in the meantime, the next time I saw them, at least you looked at me, did that. And why did I look at them? Because the minimum, I had to look at the poor soul who said, diluted. This is a translation. You imagine a person who, and I forget, you might be new, 3 whole years. This is after 3 whole years of me being a stranger, consistently having them be aware, I do not want to be your friend. I am not your friend. I am simply a person who you will see at a place we frequent. And that is problematic? No, it's basically, wow, lacking self-awareness, anyone? So when you see emotionally immature behavior continuing as you age and then you learn the words for it, you're like, oh, wow, I was smart when I was a kid. That's amazing. My left brain is delusional? No, but it can be an idiot. Right brain is judgmental asshole. Oh, I can be a judgmental asshole as a teenager. You're out. Maybe means you're out. That's it. Here's my crew. And I got taught how to not to play the know-it-all by the time I'm 20. Thanks God, because that's exactly what I'm right and left. So whenever my eyes are staring at someone, I know what the right thing is to do. You treat me like a person. You don't, I'm going to stare you down, not with shame, with that which is called really. And eventual energy, guess who crumbles with fear? No, this is the part, it's not fear. This is the saddest thing you'll ever hear, is somebody who has never met love, self-regulation, never met the eyes of that which is called something that they actually could have. Does anybody know the Billy Joel song? In the middle of the night, I've been walking in the street, right? Or looking for something that I lost, something that I never would have lost. So guess who loses their innocence? Yes, when I got to learn this from my teacher, Sue Martin. So when you have your 3-year-old, you'll know what I'm witnessing my teacher teach me about. What does it take, she says, I'll never forget this, to suck out the life of a 3-year-old. And I can't even replicate it. I'm in class and I'm doing this. And that's because I'm like, oh my God, stop. I'm like just so sad for these 3-year-olds. So yeah, it's not monsters and any of that. When I hear bad kids, bad grown-ups, in the way of people actually meaning it, I'm like, wow, you really don't know what scientists inform us of. Neuroscience, neurobiology. Luckily for me, I learned from good, smart human beings. This is what your body is going to, which is God's perfection, which is why it's not hilarious to hear people deny decentralizing the self and religious experiences, because God doesn't need science, and that they're going to reject someone like me who's a Reiki practitioner, Akashic record reader, and a lot more, because if we let everyone in, Maria, then we let bad Jojo in. And some grown human being asks, and more, who believe those words, sure, okay, wow, you're smart, brilliant. I'm not thinking brilliant. I'm just thinking I was curious, now I know, and the children in 4D, 3D land continue to believe medieval, manipulative human beings who, beyond structural dissociation, beyond all of that which is cognitive dissonance, beyond every single bit, I don't even care about all those words, because I'm like, how dare you? actually want to say that any of God's children are not perfect when you know that we all have, thank you, Jesus, the capacity to have heaven in the body? So there's a bunch of conspiracies, a bunch of different stories. It's very simple. God, science, you and your human makeup. And the scientists who prove it, they're still proving it. And the ones who don't like it, I know who they're there for. The ones who want to say over coddled. The ones who want to say, how dare you let a kid get away with it. The ones who don't understand why we don't need to use good or bad. The ones who don't want to understand why you want to know how to regulate your nervous system. The ones who do care, they're all the ones who are going to inspire human potential. And the ones who are going to continue doing what they want to do. Their B game is a mediocre game. It's funny for somebody like me because I'm not going to feel sorry for you. That's actually disrespectful. And it's not nice because that 3-year-old self-loathing, gut-wrench, torn apart, as Bethany Brand and Flavenius let me know, an integrated brain staring in the eyes of a person who has this shit. All the shit's going to come up. So you know what happens when a person who's a 5D mystic hears spiritual bypassers talk about energy vampires, dark auras, cutting people out, and excuse me, come again? Did you just offend all my brothers and sisters? And are you playing God by any chance? Because I think you're playing a role that isn't yours to play right now. So when I'm near people that I know have trauma, there's one of these people, I'll never forget, this human being. The first time I and her laid eyes on each other, it was like love at first sight. And no, she's not my lover. She's just amazing, like a soul sister, but more than that. And actually, I have more explanations than that. But my point is, thank you, Thomas Campbell, the truth is not fragile. It will always float to the top, but sometimes it takes time to get past beliefs. And he says it takes huge paradigm shifts. It doesn't take huge paradigm shifts. There's never been a huge paradigm shift. It's little increments. Let me read this before I continue with the storytelling. So let's not be too harsh with our neurologists or any of the scientists that didn't know shit back then, because now we're knowing more shit. They didn't propagate the left-right myth. The press did, yes. So what bleeds leads? No. For smart human beings, we spot it, like trending topics, YouTube, TikTok, any of the social media. People like to blame the social media stuff for what's going on. I saw it when I was in TV land. I see it now. And it's still the only ones who are mediocre brains follow around the morons who lead them. They're not manipulating anyone. They all want to believe in the story that they're being told. That's exactly how it works. Good group, bad group. No, we're all a group. It's either smart or not. That's it. You discern, great. Then you're going to know what subject matters are, and then you're going to know what experts are. If you don't know how that works, well, then you won't be back here, that's for sure. And don't be too harsh on them either. The press, thank you. You're such a good grown-up. See, they know exactly. Wait for it. So let's see. 2 ingredients go into misinformation. Yeah, let's see. 1, first, people overreact. It's one certain, not only do they overreact, I'm so sorry, wait, excuse me. Let me see, Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. Nothing is more terrible than to see ignorance in action, yes. And the ones who say that we are meant to be ignorant, nope. I was in school, high school, Friday evening. I wanted homework. They booed me. That's how stupid teenagers are. You better bet once I got to college, I saw a bunch of them not wanting to do work, getting drunk, going fucking, doing a bunch of shit. Why are you in college? Why are you learning things? Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Some don't want college now, so they think they can be the experts without going to college. I don't need the teachers. Yeah, you do. Because you're not completely an expert. And so when you meet people who are egoically egoic, you notice morons after morons after morons. You don't replace school. School is not the reason why we grow more intelligent. We don't need the school, but you better bet we have the experts and the academics. And so science is what continues to help us. One day the sun's going to go out. I did a whole argument on this. And my argument was not that the sun is not a star. My argument was essentially we don't know if scientists are going to build a way for us to have a star. That's all I was trying to say. But from that moment forth, I didn't do it anymore because I made a very, very beautiful person very upset. And that was because they thought I was trying to say that we can have a star like the sun, continue to live forever. But then again, the scientists might figure out a way to continue having our star work. I'm just saying, like, it's a possibility, but with science, not with our wheels. And the ones who think the wheel can get us off the planet, okay, anyone want to be delusional with them, please go ahead. That's my whole point of why I was trying to simply say scientists create things, and when someone's cut off, meaning shut out of thinking that we can create something, we've created a lot. We can continue creating. So, but anyways, long story short, that's what can happen sometimes when we're having what's called misunderstandings, and when we are coming at conversations from opposite angles, different wavelengths, and so on and so forth. But it's all good, because then we have fun as we continue to explore that which is knowledge. As you grow older, you get more wise, because you do continue to read and not waste time in futile, empty, uninteresting things. Yes, I'm sorry, there's some things that are completely uninteresting. My brain likes to learn things. Why would I waste any type of second on something that is not constructive? Now, laughing is constructive. So you share moments with people, and that's a different story. So, misinformation, people overreacting. I can react to words like the over coddling, but it's not reactive. I just really don't like it, but that's because I'm thinking, wow, you don't coddle, and you have an issue with coddling. You have to add the over. Is there the possibility for someone to over coddle? Of course there is. That's a whole reason why our conversations are never black and white. They're always day to day. And so, like my facade friend said, you're a hypocrite, Maria. No, I'm not. Yes, today you say this, tomorrow you say that. Yeah, that's because today I'm talking about a concept in one way. Tomorrow I'm going to talk about it in another way, which is why, as I said at the beginning, it's not the words that have us being heard or that are really as important as can be. It's, are you open-heartedly listening to me, and are we having a conversation? And if we are, then we're exploring concepts together and growing, and we're not proving. And nobody is in a research lab. You know who's in a research lab? This human being who I love. I love a lot of human beings, by the way. And yes, people say that means I don't love anybody, and I don't give a shit what they say, because I'm in the oxytocin gene hormone, and I do love him. I would hug him, and I would hug Dr. Dennis. I would hug all, actually. But yes, Stephen Porges, I would say, can I hug you? Dr. Dennis Siegel, can I hug you? Dr. Daniel Fox, can I hug you? Bezo Vanderkook, can I hug you? Janina Fisher, Pat Ogden, can I hug you? My entire keep from Sumatopia, Sue Martin, can I hug you? As you taught me what a poor 3-year-old goes through when they don't know how to self-regulate. They don't know because they're only on, off, on, off, on, off. And that's why, as she pointed out, there's a difference between, all of us have child parts. Some people also have fragmented parts. And those are different things. And people who don't know about the body being what's important and continue to think that trauma is the event, well, I would love to be a big monster and eat them, but that's not how God works. Because he likes for his children to have free will, choice, choose, A game, B game. I'm not going to be the one making you choose anything. I'm an integrated brain. I'm having a good time right now. Hey, Dr. Dan, I love you. He taught me how to differentiate when I asked him about it. No, I asked him about, this is what happens when I walk in a room. No, when I didn't present it to him that way, but I did ask him. I said, I'm affected by the environment. We've been talking about self-regulation and differentiation. I know how to do it, but still, and he's like, I think you're not differentiating enough, Maria. And I understood what he meant, because in order for you to be an integrated brain, you will need to be able to be your own self, and then know how to sift through sensations, images, feelings, thoughts, which I can do. So that's interoception. So as we have mindset skills, we use mindfulness, and we're self-aware, accountable, regulating. So I know Maria's self is here, and I'm in my prefrontal. And so I knew what he was saying because he explained it in my courses with the IPNB framework. I'm still finishing it, but I was halfway through it. And I got to ask him the question, and then he's also the one who let me know that I'm a differentiated self by the time I was 3, because I told my mom, you can't spank me, it's in my body. And then I went on to make my suitcase. And he said, wow, that's really great, Maria. You were already a differentiated self. And I looked it up, and it said, means you have your own thoughts and feelings that are separate from the herd. You can ask my lovely family what they think of my bossy tone and my mannerisms. And I have told them I will interview you at some point. That way you can all share all the dirt, and I will continue to say, I'm Maria. And no, I'm not different than everyone. Yes, I am Maria, and I'm different from you, and you're different from me. And we're being ordinary humans who want to say, none of us want to be rejected. So the mammalian heritage, we all have a 0-1-year-old, but mine is okay with being rejected, because I actually have this superpower. In my implicit memory in the womb, I have a twin with me, which is where, if you remember my LBLT, the regulars, yeah, I chose to have a second human with me. I said, I need more. And now today I can tell you, even if you don't believe in my mystic story stuff, my implicit memory doesn't know aloneness. I have a superpower. It's probably one of the biggest superpowers any of twins can have. because our mammalian heritage is physically our body will protect us from that which is nature, not because we're not a part of it, but because the bear is not a part of our own species. The tree is not a part of our own species, and your body doesn't speak words. Your body is a smart, emotional, excuse me, let me think, nervous system. And just FYI, our nervous systems speak to each other. And that's the smarts of your species. You're a species. So if we have aliens coming in, they're of a different species, right? That's what I'm trying to get at. Okay, so we are one big herd on this globe, as we are in our lovely embodied brains that are made a certain way, unless you want to deny all science. I mean, really. And that's why I'm the woo-woo pseudoscience lady, because I bring in the spiritual, human, mystic, all of it. And I'm not doing it to confuse anyone. I'm doing it because I support personal and spiritual growth, and I'm storytelling while interacting with. Being yourself means that you have nervous system sovereignty and self-sovereignty. Otherwise, you can't be yourself. You're going to be a fake self. I don't like fake people. I never have. I never will. But today I know to leave them alone. As a teenager, I learned how to leave it alone because I really don't want to waste my fucking time. As a grown woman, I can tell you God kept me far away from people who would have been very, very, very in the face of, you wasted my fucking time. No one asked you for any favors, because that's exactly how I handle anything. There's a door. I can leave. All you have to do is say, can you go? I'll go. Oh, I won't have an issue. I can cry in a corner and then I'll be happy tomorrow. Why? Because I don't need you to live. I need air. Oh, wait. Excuse me. Let me drink some water. I need water and I need food. And then when you're a self-aware, sovereign human being, you're not saying it with a closed heart. You're saying it with, I am a human. I don't have to mean shit to you, because that's not actually something you impose on anyone. And if you mean shit to me, it doesn't mean that I'm going to make me mean shit to you. And that's because that's how it works with yourself, who's whole. And again, I have a superpower. So I'm not afraid of being alone. And I'm going to say that's not a bias. That's an actual exploration of an analysis, thanks to attachment trauma education. And I say I have a superpower, me, Maria, and any twin, because my implicit memory begins from the womb, as it's explained to me, and I don't suffer the mammalian heritage of ever feeling afraid of being alone with a bear, because I'm hugging a twin in my implicit memory while I was coming out as a preemie, because the umbilical cord wrapped around me. They always teased. They said that maybe it was because my sister got tired of hearing me. I'm thinking, no, we just didn't have a lot of room, as my mother's petite like I am, and my twin. And so anyways, long story short, I'm the bossy one of the two, just FYI, so it's okay. I'm still wiggly and all excited, and FYI, siblings, usually this is what other smart therapists teach you. One's going to be more sympathetic, one's going to be more dorsal vagal, meaning one's going to be all over the place, the other's going to be the other energy, and then even the parent has an interaction with each child differently. Thanks, Gabor Mate. So when people don't know what humans are made of and they don't know themselves, that's why they're blind to everything, and they don't know themselves. They don't know what enemy. Where's an enemy? The only enemy is actually, excuse me, please save our environment. We really need, physically speaking, air to breathe, and we need water to drink, and I am not even fucking kidding you. It's so straightforward. We all need food, and the ones who are wasting time thinking about how we're gonna fight over it, I'm like, I bet you there's smart people who know exactly how to handle this, except for the ones who don't believe that they are. So you leave it alone, because I do believe in the goodness of humanity, but also the intelligence of humanity, also as a mystic who's in communion with God, and also somebody who's seen the basic cosmic karmic balancing take place. Oh, I've never personally given up anything in life. There's no sacrifice. But I've lived the many lifetimes, and my masculine closed out his karma in this lifetime. You all have your own masculine, your own feminine. I use the word divine just sometimes to make the distinction, because stupid masculines, the left brainer people alone, they're also distorted feminines, because that means that they have a whole way that overreactive misinformation. And the second, science progresses through incremental discoveries. Yes, one layer of the ignorance onion at a time. So it's not a huge paradigm shift. It's actually our species learns things. We went from a wheel to cars to, you know what I'm saying? So it's pretty straightforward. The right brain does play a big role in creativity, but so does the left brain. The left brain breaks things down into little understandable pieces, but the right brain makes sure that those pieces still fit a greater whole. Our species does great. Our species has weaknesses. Yes, There's one thing our species will not ever want: to die physically alone with the bear, because their mammalian heritage is a 0-1-year-old like mine that will know intuitively and instinctively what it is made of. Now, the only time it would want to die alone is because it was not given the appropriate environment. And this does not mean what people think. So yes, the womb matters. The ones who don't want to believe it, they don't have to believe in implicit memory. I don't actually talk to ignorant morons about this stuff. No, I do. I found it hard to believe the pussy's life or what? Yeah, they are why. But hey, I'm not going to make you believe. That word in and of itself makes me laugh in my butthole and back, because it's like, you think I waste my time in my courses? You think I learn from morons? You must think I don't know what I'm doing with my money. And a lot more. But again, I'm sharing it with you. I just don't bother, because the minute someone gets reactive, I'm already in the presence of, like my facade friend, a teenager who is going to be, in my book as a teenager, an idiot, a moron, not somebody I'm looking up or down, just somebody who's got an ego like I do. And I really don't want to waste my time. As a divine feminine and a divine masculine myself, I have places to be, things to do, and I don't need you in my life, and you don't need me. And that is exactly why the minute that you're being ordinarily you and someone breaks up with you and thinks that you're going to suffer the pains of hell, it's like, excuse me, no. I'm not going to suffer that you broke up with me. And I'm laughing because I'm thinking of my teenage boyfriend, where my younger sister tells it best, as she saw me after 4 years of a relationship. It wasn't because I didn't love him. No, death do part, sickness and health, rich or poor, all this stuff that I learned from my lovely, good Christian Catholic upbringing. I'm polyamory today. I'm not ashamed of it. I also don't think you're not poly enough. I don't think anything of people who actually continue to think that love, that they know what it means when they don't even know how to love themselves first. You know what love is when you can be yourself in your intelligence with two sides of the brain working, and you've owned all of your fetal position and beyond, which means all your emotions. Now you know what love is, and you don't talk to me about suffering like some great, I've seen a person in pseudo aliveness and more. Suffering, I'm gonna look. No. You want to know what happens when you actually are a person who has healthy sadness and healthy everything, and you know when someone's being an asshole and morons and a bunch more words that I'm not going to use anymore. Yeah, so my facade friend, you're your own mother, divine feminine, your own father, divine masculine. That means you got an intellectual and emotional brain and body, and it's your emotional first, because you're a star baby, because you're an eternal child. You didn't lose shit about yourself, which is why you're going to be like, I'm a 3-year-old right now. I'm a 5-year-old. I'm all of it. And you want to say overcoddled? Come again. That's what today's been all about. I'm all excited and I'm all over the place because I hear these people who are not mentors for those who are actual eternal childs. They're only there as placeholders for people who don't want to get their orphan to a therapist and get to become their true self. So do I encourage people? I encourage people to be themselves, and then I spot the ones who don't want to be like my facade friend, and I spot their Achilles heel, but I don't actually waste my time with that anymore, because by the time I got to my facade friend, I'm like, dude, you made a bunch of bullshit mistakes. You want to get on my case because your girlfriend cheated on you? I told you what was happening at the time. You didn't listen to me, and I was giving you good advice as a friend. When you're down in trouble, then you need someone who? How many emotionally mature people have I met? Bazillion. Are they immature because they're irrecuperable? No. They have some lame-ass teenage excuse story for yourself. That's what they have. A majority of people have a lame-ass teenage story for yourself, and my facade friend is included. And I don't think highly or low. I just think, well, there's a B-gamer for you. That's the judgmental asshole that people will spot because I'm a healthy perfectionist. But because I'm a person who is also, thank goodness, attachment trauma informed, I'm now a very much better person than I used to be, because I can now know how to simply put, not think of any of the things that I've spelled out to you right now, but let you know, by the time I was 18, I didn't see no monster. I saw a bunch of cowards. By the time I was 20, I saw it again. 25, it don't matter. So as long as it takes for me to let you know, 45-year-old woman doesn't grow less loving. You grow more loving, and you grow more compassionate, understanding, and you actually laugh at idiots, which is why anybody who wants to think that someone can be overcoddled doesn't know that a 0-8-year-old needs you to allow them to be all their emotional self, so that they can then, once they've been able to be safe inside their own environment, because you didn't shame them for crying or whatever it is, now you can start trying to help them work out all of the emotional stuff. Not by silencing them. That's a stupid thing to cry for. No, that's a stupid thing for you to cry for. yucky, awful grown up. That's how a child who was given the opportunity to be a child, but who has a twin. And I got to play. I got to play with a child who played like I got to be seen by a child who's a child like me. And so people who think this is stupid are the same human beings who, to me, are all assholes. And they're the same cowards that I met when I was 11, 12, 13, 14. I don't look up or down. I just look straight at them. I'm going to stay open-hearted. You don't know what love is. You obviously don't know what kindness is. You're not a bad boy, girl, or anything. You're just an irritable, emotionally immature asshole who doesn't know how life works. Teenage boyfriend. You don't believe in God because he's real. You only believe because you're afraid of death. Excuse me? I just did confirmation. What are you talking about? Oh, I'm sorry. You turned your back on God. I should have told him. Your friend killed himself. You got cheated on by your first most important relationship. Oh, and you have influence by other grown-ups around you. But that's called putting a finger in a wound. I'm already knowing what the difference is between being an emotionally mature and immature person because I was taught manners, versus calling people names, which is why the teenagers grew up to be morons by the time they're in college. And now I'm a 45-year-old woman who gets to meet them as they're out there talking about the same topics without any awareness of themselves. It's hilarious. I don't like hypocrites. They make me laugh in my butthole. I don't like people who lack integrity. That's none of my business. It's not my actual body. Self-loathing, gut-wrench, torn apart. When you are a person, you'll know what integrity is. And when someone lacks it, you don't think, oh my God, that's a monster. You think, wow, what happened to you? Because something shit went down in your life for you to be this kind of insensitive, cold asshole. And if it's not because something happened to you, well, I can't actually make someone whose chemistry doesn't allow them to experience some things. I can break it down logically. This is what logic means. Means that I won't be imposing my preference. If you lack the capacity to physically, emotionally feel something, it's not I can't impose it on you. It's like when someone says panic attacks, but her life is so perfect. Yes, my life is perfect. Panic attacks come about because we have a freeze response, and many more answers I would have for that. But hey, you don't believe in any of it, and you also think you can talk me out of a panic attack, and you can't, because it's a physiological way that my body will work through it. So when you have explanations and people don't like it, but they need a story for themselves, they're making it into a story because they're distancing themselves. They're using a left brain and they're not actually embodying what is called a mindful, intentional living, which is deep. So I don't suffer death. I don't suffer things. I don't actually suffer emotions, and I don't suffer reality. Dark matter, dark energy, please don't implode. I'm meaningless to any other person on the face of this planet. If I will say it, it doesn't matter. But I know I'm not meaningless to my loved ones. And even if I were, it's okay. Because guess what Maria can do? And this is the hug of a person who can say, yeah, I can be an asshole. I don't need no fucking person. I have a superpower. Thanks, twin. And as my LBLT showed me, I chose to have her with me. So we can go the mystic route and say that, yep, my soul knew exactly what it was doing the entire time. I, in fact, left myself gifts along the way. And this is what happens when you meet your twin flames. By the third twin flame, I'm like, you know what? I don't know everything yet, but I'm going to find out everything that I was going to. And I did. I found out everything. And as I discovered leaving myself gifts along the way, I was like, oh my God, that's so sweet. I left me stuff. Oh, I want to know what am I going to have next? What am I going to have next? So you don't lose faith in God, by the way, or Akash or Source or any of that, and you don't cut people out of the herd. And when you see cosmic karmic balancing take place and you're divine feminine, you don't think my masculine's testing me. No one tests shit. It's thank you, God, for keeping me far away. Oh my gosh, thank you so much, because I don't need to be looking at anyone with laser fucking eyes of, oh my God, did you just do that? Because the eyes of a laser focus is weak one. Just so weak. And it's weak on their knees, weak. And I'm not saying weak in the sense of, I'm actually saying, you know what, a person who's been shamed, who's been made to feel like a weak, helpless person, seeing an eye of a person like, that's not going to look good. I would not be proud of that stare, which is why I'm happy I'm attachment trauma educated, because I can't actually do that stare anymore. That's what happens as you get enlightened, is you feel sad for all people who don't want to reclaim themselves. The people who don't like to hear this, they like to give you pretend scenarios, like, you know, serial murders and stuff like that. I watched Criminal Minds as I was growing up. I said, they all need help. I mean, if God decided my fate like that, I've already talked to him about it. It's like, that's my fate. I can't do anything. I am a servant of God. He chooses I'm going to die. But I also did ask him about death. I'm not dying anytime soon. I'm also going to be reborn. And this is why my facade friend, Maria, it seems like you think you know the right answer, the right way. This is the same man that I said, oh, I want you to be yourself. That's how he talks to me. And I'm like, I do know the right way. That's how I talk to him. It's called love and being not a coward, which is what you and other men like you are. And so, yeah, I have knowingness of what love is. And in this moment in time, I'm not being actually given the opportunity to do what I want to do. So a bunch of fun stories, being yourself. I can tell you that I have consistently maintained my personality patterns, my temperament. I do not change. I just become more flexible because I've learned how to share the floor and how to notice that when people have envy, jealousy, comparison, competition, spite, envy, all of it, it's better that they get it off their chest because, my God, I feel so sad that you are so uncomfortable being you. Wow. So yeah, teenage boyfriend and we became friends eventually again. But when he broke up, I just knew, okay, I'm going to get over it at some point. A month later, I'm like, wow, the grown-ups lied. I love him the same. No, I don't want to fuck him at all. This is the part of where people think that you would have to want to fuck your exes. They even state these things on tarot readings. Like, no, some of us really don't. Just because you're in polyamory community don't mean you want to fuck everyone. Actually, it's not even close. But let me leave that one for another time. We've talked about it. Polyfidelity vessel is really nice. And yeah, the polyamory community, there's mature ones and then there's the ones who are immature, and that's really not love at all. So amore means love, which means I will want you to be happy with or without me, not in a with or without me. No, I'll be able to be happy for you. And as I process that, which is called accepting that I've been rejected without having to put you in a bad group pile, I will grow up to be a woman who looks to the past and thinks, I'm so lucky. So lucky. Look how lucky I am. And that's exactly how you feel without any bit of anything. The ones who instead harbor vengeance, you know what they do? They get online. There's some more tarot for you. Use that energy to build yourself an empire and then look to the past and say, ha ha ha. And there are women and men that actually do this. I have talked to them. They actively look to the past whenever their exes come around. And I'm like, what the fuck? You didn't know how to process breakup like a normal human being? I'm sorry, normal. Excuse me. I need to rephrase. Emotionally mature person with self-awareness, accountability, regulation. Because see, there isn't really a normal. Because if I need to put normal in a box, I say we have normal, emotionally mature humans and normal, emotionally immature humans. And what is normal? What does that even mean? This is the song that doesn't end, and it goes on and on, my friends. Some people started singing it not knowing what it was. Yes, if your beliefs are not falsifiable. Thank you, Sam Harris. If there's no scenario that could convince you that your most cherishable opinions are in error, then that's proof that you didn't get them by being in contact with reality. So people will be like, well, what about if the devil is real? So listen, here's the deal. There's a bunch of scientists who prove what our embodied brains are. And so, yeah, and also I'm a mystic, so that really doesn't matter. But hypothetically, you would want to say that he's a loser and he doesn't win, ever. That's it. I mean, I really can't bring it to you in any different way, but I can tell you that there's not any kind of monster in the periphery and in the vicinity of those of us who are so well in communion with the frequency of love. Because yes, even when I've been in the lower planes and the lower realms, and when people of lower frequencies are in my vicinity, they're not scary. They're just obnoxious, and their energy is basically something that I would equate to cartoons that I've seen in Disney cartoons, and it's like those little eerie places. So it's like, you know, Gargamel and his little castle. That's the extent of what I can tell you. Or maybe, you know, have you seen Zorro, the Mask of Zorro? Which one is it? The second one, where they go to the dungeon to get the Zorro who's been imprisoned or whatever. Yeah, so the children of God, basically those who are in communion with the frequency of Akash source. For us to conclude, it isn't about a good or bad thing. I don't equate it with those words. It's you will become, with your integrated brain, restorative, embodied, self-aware, accountable, regulating, more resilient in an emotionally, mentally, physically strong body, because you're expanding your window of tolerance to one of welcome. You hold more energy. You continue to expand. It's also called the flow state for neuroscientists. It's also called something about the selflessness, timelessness, effortlessness, richness. And it's called you integrate more and more and more. So once you're integrated, you are completely using your brain the default mode network is downregulated. So you're not scanning self and others and thinking you're helpless or hopeless because some human being rejects you. You don't give two shits because it's, again, whether you have a superpower to begin with or not, you know what love is. It's easy, and it's I accept you for who you are. And when you meet little shits, quote unquote, they're not little shits, because the little shits were never little shits. They got treated like little shits. You see what I'm saying? I curse as a grown-up. And what I'm here to say is that 3-year-olds are amazing. And when you see a person who maintains their sense of self, they become their beautiful human being grown up, and they know forgiveness, they're a badass. When you meet the ones who are still with their little self-righteous, contemptuous batons who don't know how to forgive yet, you just know that everyone has a team. And that the ones who are not ready to forgive, if they're doing it right, their team is, we're going to heal our trauma, not pass it down to our children. If their team is, we want to tell you how to treat your children and to stop over coddling, sure, whatever, go have fun with the people who are continuing to use these words who don't understand what the nervous system is about. So I'm here for the inspiring human potential, and it's also self-aware, accountable, because otherwise you don't want personal or spiritual growth. Why are you hearing about stories of self-led people? Why are you here? I know that I may tell a lot of different stories, and I don't have all of those things outlined, but this is about being yourself. So we don't talk about the opinions of social stuff. I interact with those pieces of information because we all deal with daily life, and so we deal with topics. But if you're a person who is here, it's to hear about how it is to live life with wellness, with laughter, with the capacity to use this emotionally intelligent brain of yours. I know that I'm here for those people. I didn't know all these words until I got all attachment trauma educated. And when 3D, 4D, the spiritual bypassers want to talk about my brothers and sisters as demons, I say they're not demons. At best, they're evil and need Thomas Campbell and all the scientists, and then they need therapy and all this stuff, but they're not evil in a way of mythological stories that I don't need to use, because science explains what they're all made of, unless you're living in La La Land, which is why I'm the woo-woo pseudo science lady. So I know what La La Land is, and I also know what disrespecting that which is God's children is. Then I know about the way you can teach a child good and bad the right way versus the whole thing of let me, toughen you up in ways that are ridiculous because you're using your grown-up brain and you're not an adolescent. And you don't even believe that the adolescent brain has a different way of perceiving the world, which is even more bullshit because you're, again, the capacity for someone to disregard that scientists know how to explain it to them, and for those human beings to say, I'm going to listen to my gut, I don't believe in science. Okay then, wow, really? Okay, you know what, stop talking to me about God or anything, just go somewhere. I really have no understanding human beings who didn't notice you haven't learned anything about being a human, and you're denying scientists to explain to you perception because you don't like the words they use, because you've decided that you know how it is to be a kid when you're grown up now and you don't know how it is to be a kid. And so yeah, being yourself, resilience is where we have it, thanks to having emotional first of all. Otherwise you don't have it at all, because you're going to begin making up stories. And I see teenagers as pseudo intellectuals who are proving their points, who are continuing with ego, and who are competing with their colleagues because they have envy, jealousy, spite, and unsatisfaction to the point of where they don't even notice. I don't care about the subject matter they're looking into. They care about being a name. So they care about leaving a legacy of their name. It's ego. While the ones who care about leaving a legacy behind for the future, you'll know who they are because they're going to stand in the books of time forever. And that is exactly why it's not when you do something for yourself that you make a difference. It is when you do something for the entirety, and the difference is not necessarily something that you will notice. I notice on the external, the small, the B gamers and the A gamers. We're all small, but what I'm trying to say is the ones who will stand the test of time because their message is for an entire globe, and the ones who instead are a message that comforts a certain amount of people who want a place to call home and who lack the capacity to think big because they lack the capacity to use two sides of their lovely brain. And they could, but they don't want to. So I want to read actually something that lovely Sadhguru shared on Christmas, because I do love to honor Jesus. He's a very important part of my journey. So is God and Holy Spirit. And just because I'm not welcomed by all doesn't mean that I don't welcome my background. I really welcome all of my upbringing, and I'm sad that the divisiveness has taken place the way it has, and that it continues to do so. Unfortunately, people don't like to hear like wisdom from the Dalai Lama. He shared how we all should come together, the different religions, and people like to say they can't, and I like to say if they were actually caring, they would come together, as they would know that is exactly what we always, as spiritual spokespeople, here to do, to share humanity, compassion, to bring each other together, all our prophets. This is one reason why I talked about science so much, is because all the prophets that came before us, I learned in world religions what they came to do, the monotheistic religions, the other religions. And any enlightened one will tell you we are here to come together, but when they're staying divisive, that's how they just stay in their little groups. But if that gives them a sense of safety because they have the lack of capacity to use two sides of the brain, to use more words, to stay open-hearted and actually see each other, correcting people, stop correcting my words. I can be incorrect. Let me be incorrect. Call me an asshole. Fine. Keep going. Okay. So this is what happens when people interrupt. Now, I, for example, like to chime in. I'm trying to chime in by talking with, but I get very much thought of as trying to interrupt, and I'm not trying to interrupt, so I try to learn to pause. So when you have people having fun, that's where my way of doing things works great. When you have people who are not yet having fun as their complete self, they consistently will think you're trying to, because they're defensive immediately. I, on the other hand, if someone interrupts, it's easy, you confuse science spirituality. I don't take offense because I don't care if you're interrupting me. I can keep going. I'll remember. I'm not upset because I'm not in an ego place. I'm just chit-chatting place. And so that's where I learned in one of my books of psychology. This was Carl Rogers, Becoming a Person. There's a difference. The ones who are emotionally mature people can handle being interrupted. They can handle questions because it's not handling. We enjoy having conversations. Nobody's trying to prove themselves. The people who are trying to be heard because they weren't heard, whatever it is, but they got an agenda going on, they don't like when you're interjecting, and they're automatically going to get defensive over it. So you just let it go, or you learn to pause, or you learn to not. It all depends. The birth of one being can change the world when the divine within finds expression. May you know the divine. Wishing you a joyful Christmas. Thank you, Sadhguru. So the divine within, this is where we all have the sense of self. I laugh because I don't consider us divine, the divinity thing, this word. It just sounds so much like a big word that is used. And yes, we are all a part of this speck of creatorship, but I prefer to then say we're stars and dust. Like the stars and dust, to make it into something that allows us to have humility. So your soul is love. The essence of you is love. Being your 3-year-old is that which is called love. And so the 3-year-old is able to be in the presence of all other 3-year-olds, whether they are open-hearted or not, because you're not trying, again, to prove yourself. I'm going to read to you a couple of quotes. This one's Jennifer Sweeten, Psych D. A key new understanding for someone with grandiosity is to know that other people outside of them exist, and that other people's emotions, other people's thoughts are different from their own. So like grandiose people, they're not offensive to me. I understand where they're coming from. When a narcissist is wounded, it's like a stake in the heart. It leaves this gaping hole of pain. What might be hurtful to some people is devastating to someone who is on the narcissistic end of the continuum. It's intolerable for them. This is Deanne Lalietz, Licws. I think did I spell that right? Licsw, excuse me. Then we have Janina Fisher, PhD. When I encounter grandiosity, I assume that the other side of it is shame, and that the grandiosity arose as a way to counter the shame. Now, sometimes grandiosity is modeled, okay? So we have an understanding for all of these aspects, which is why you don't treat people like shit. You are able, as an emotionally mature individual, to understand that everyone's different, and then to know if they're healing with a good therapist, they're going to get out of the attitude. If they're not, you still want to handle it the way I like to handle it, with open heart and open ears, because I'm not going to correct your B game. And you're not a monster. Grandiosity, narcissism, not a monster. Human being who got treated like shit or was modeled shitty behavior. And every other explanation in the book, they can get help. They don't want it, it's okay. I'm not going to stoop to the level of treating them like shit when that is where they learned how to misbehave, quote unquote, and a lot more. So it's not the apple falls far from the tree. It's if they only learn dysregulation, humans are unsafe, loving is unsafe, why would I behave like them? So there's an explanation for how people behave. The ones who say we lack imagination for evil, no, you lack education for it, and you lack a Michael Stone forensic criminologist skill. You lack the capacity to want to help humanity to behave with integrity. What you have is a story for yourself, and it's a good team and a bad team, and I don't have a good team and a bad team. We're all good. We're all children of God. And then there's the explanation for the ones who need help. And then there's prisons and there's laws and all this other stuff. So people who need a story for themselves, they don't like to hear the explanations of why we're all good and why we're all ordinary and why we all don't want to be rejected and why we all be saluted will not want to be rejected. At the same time, don't mean I need to give you a green pass. When you have lack of capacity to notice, wow, this man has a wife, a child. He, for 3 consistent years, knows I didn't want to become friends with him. He's an emotionally immature in the low spectrum of anxiety or anxious or whatever of Terriel. It's called desperate manipulative. That wasn't manipulative. It was desperate. And wow, decency. And the minute he's like doing that, like, it's not about decency. In my head, not in his face. I wasn't making fun of him. It wasn't about decency. And then the entire evening, busted my balls. And by the end of the evening, he's like, and we'll become friends. And I'm like, no, my body means no. We won't become friends. And we'll hang out. Yeah, we frequent the same place. I'm not a liar. I'm a 3-year-old who's not a liar. So here's the part of why I didn't get broken, I didn't get ruptured, and anybody who's whole knows exactly how it is to be in these rooms with people like this. And the explanation just makes you know, okay, I'm doing a great job at being a good human, meaning treating people with humanity, because really, they got treated like little pieces of shit. They don't want help, they lack self-awareness, and then they fall around morons who tell them the body has nothing to do with trauma. Oh, they're not morons because they're stupid. They're just morons because they're denying that their body has anything to do with an embodied brain. And they don't notice their ego. And so grandiose, yeah, assholes. Yeah, we're all assholes, but some are dumb assholes. For the ones of us who are smart, of course. For the ones who want the dumb assholes who are mediocre, again, it's a B-gamer's life for those ones. 3D, 4D, I thought they would waken up. They don't want to. It's okay. They don't have to. Trauma violates internal relationships and internal connections. When we experience a trauma, the self is protected. The self is preserved. The self doesn't go through trauma. Our parts do. Frank Anderson, MD. Some people don't regain their parts. They don't regain their self. They don't regain any of it, like my facade friend, and they don't become their real self. So they're not going to be ordinary. They're going to be what I call, quote unquote, jackasses. And that's because I can be a jackass, but of a different type. They're a jackass because they're faking it. And emotionally immature people don't have room for you. So they will continue to behave in the same way my facade friend did, which is why you leave it alone. I'm so happy I'm a grown-up now. There's a unified goal of, I'm sorry, I can't read all this word. Let's make connections safe and make better choices in our relationships. We're working together for a common goal as opposed to the split and dichotomy. Frank Anderson, MD. This is pre-verbal wounds can echo for decades through relationships in the body. A parts approach helps people meet those wounds directly and safely. So once people get all their parts together, I'm whole, all my child parts, okay, that's when they're going to be joining us here. And that's when they're going to make fun of the ones who don't actually want any of their real self with us. And not in a mean way, but they don't want to grow. They don't want to love. They don't want to laugh. They don't want to enjoy compassion. They don't want to do any of the let's laugh at each other left and right. And with that being said, I'm sure I left you hanging with a couple of things, but the story is that when you can be yourself like a eternal child and you don't lose yourself, you will hear people even if you don't like the words they speak, because you are acknowledging that you are getting to build a secure connection. And so we build secure connections with all of our lovely brothers and sisters. All of God's children are good children. If they were treated like shit and then they got to continue that's it. That's their path. We have laws to protect us. But the truth is, emotionally mature people are who lead the future because they're also mentally mature, which makes them intelligent, which makes them have the capacity to, like Sam Harris points out, be grounded in reality and know that their beliefs can be falsifiable. We also don't bring in, let me prove my beliefs or any of that shit. We also know scientists every day build new data, and we don't stop thinking that they're going to keep building new shit. And when we think of children, we now know that they need to have a safe environment. They need to be able to express anger healthily, and that's how they're going to begin eventually to manage their emotions. If you suppress that and scare the shits out of them, well, anybody who doesn't want to believe in it, again, they don't have to. As Gabor Mate points out, child needs to be unconditionally loved, allowed to express all the basic human emotions: anger, fear, sadness, surprise, disgust, happiness. That means if I'm angry and yelling at you, you don't yell at me back like I'm supposed to know how to be a grown-up yet. And it's not about it being black and white. I'm just giving you an example, but I've seen people, that's a brat, that's bad, I have lots of no patience for children. My friends have seen this. I still don't, because their nervous system immediately, I'm like, okay, I need to get away. I need to regulate. Okay, gosh, they're sympathetic. It's just all over the place. So I have actually a capacity to notice that I need to differentiate more. But my point was that I got to be on my angry little butthole. So I have healthy frustration, healthy anger. I have healthy knowingness of any emotion without any shame. And when I meet someone who's a grandiose little asshole, I just think, whether it was modeled or not, I don't give a shit. I'm going to let them talk, let them get off their chest whatever they want, and that way I can go and have fun with the real grown-ups. And then I can teach the children, you want to treat your brothers and sisters the way that they ought to be, the way they could be, if one day they choose to self-regulate and become their true self and their nervous system sovereign person and the enlightened soul age group. If not, there's those other soul age groups that I make fun of. If not, they can stay in their 3D 4D like my facade friend, and if not, that's okay. They can all be their poets and we get to hear as they tell us all about their woes and their suffering and how, you know, the life is unfair and all that other stuff, and or that the body has nothing to do with how we are, you know, living life and stuff like that. So again, we don't operate from the straitjacket of logic. We operate from logic and self. And then we operate from, I don't know everything, I fuck it up, I forget the data, yes, but I definitely know what self-regulation is. And it's really fun. So being your self-insecure, attached nervous system, not boring. Being your ventral energy, not boring. Being emotionally intelligent, not boring at all. Actually, just grow more and more laughing by the day. And when you meet grandiose assholes, you just think, wow, now I can spot really well pseudo intellectuals, and that's amazing, so I can make fun of them too. Besides spiritual bypassers. And God says, remember, Maria, don't exaggerate. He likes for us to be humble. So humility is a very important one, because otherwise we forget the purpose of this. Diffusing conflict and providing clarity. That is the word of wisdom. Yes. And so I do try to diffuse conflict and provide clarity. It's not the words we speak that has us being heard. It's having an open heart. Aristotle, a friend you love is considered your second self. And in fact, you will feel the same pain that your friend feels. And that's because we co-regulate. But that doesn't mean our biosphere always pays us back, because emotionally immature people don't know how to self-regulate. It's also dangerous for them. And so they find love dangerous, neutrality dangerous. They will test it to the bejesus of them. They will think it's not real. They will continue to think that you're an evil and a lot of more things, and you will not be able to do anything about it. And there are two kinds of people: those who make things happen and those who enjoy it when it happens the way they want it to and complain when it doesn't. And that's why they go and say, that is an ex who's an asshole. No one of my exes are assholes. There's only one that was a lesson for me, and that's okay. He's not an asshole per se, just a type of human being who will no longer be in the future. Thank goodness, because we are in Dharma Town, our 5D lovely planet. So yeah, I'm looking for something. Give me a minute. We'll find out if I find it. Trauma is not an event. It is the response. Thank you, Stephen Porges. When people get triggered into mobilization defenses or shutting down, they develop elaborate narratives to make sense of what their body is doing. We tend to think of triggers as words or scripts or context. He says, I'd like therapists to think of them as physiological states. And the hierarchy is this: social engagement features, prosody, facial expressivity, gestures within a quiet, safe environment. So when somebody is able to use two sides of the brain, they don't need to control their environment in the way that the ego of those who instead don't know how to use two sides. the structurally dissociated person can be completely aware that they entered reactivity if they become a person who works with self-regulation. And that's because they work with their child parts and their self, and they become whole. So eventually you move from your past living through you and you projecting and being reactive to you being non-reactive, to you being able to talk about your feelings and your thoughts, and then to have nice conversations where our biosphere and our muisphere, and so secure connections are all, then we build safe attachment relationships. That's because we will be our safe haven, secure basis for each other. So it's when you have people who know nervous system sovereignty and self-sovereignty that you're going to have emotionally mature people. 3D, 4D aren't bad, or in a way of, oh my God, we have laws to protect us, and we're going to continue having that. And then we have scientists who continue discovering and helping people out. And so more integrated brains over time, for sure. And that's because intelligence always wins. All of our human self, soul is love. So the people who stay connected to their 3-year-old want their 3-year-old back. You see what I'm saying? They're going to be brave, and they're going to say yes because they're going to choose to love themselves first, because they're going to choose to be themselves. They're going to choose that because they're going to choose how. Why would I ever treat myself like shit? Why would I ever want to be a shitty shit here? Why would I want to not be around humans? So whenever I see people who don't trust humanity can make it, and who don't know emotions are what actually make us strong, I just know a bunch of people don't notice that whatever got broken and however got broken for them, not all of us got broken at all. In fact, some of us are like, okay, look, get away from my 3-year-old, and I will make sure to stand up for all of the ones who don't know how to speak up for themselves. And that's because there's a bunch of them who don't. I have supported people like my facade friend in moments of time when they actually got the rug pulled under their feet. I took them back. I knew what the right thing was to do. My friend has no friends because he's an actual asshole who's self-serving like any other emotionally immature person. And I learned that they all will not know how to give in the absence of wanting something back. Do we have memory and remember things that take place so we can consistently talk about events? Yes, I do, which is where people say you hold it on your finger. No, I have the remembrance of things. I don't have a charge. If I have a charge, I'll talk about the feeling. So you talk about feelings when you have emotions involved. And that's why functional child adults don't need the therapists. They actually like to do mindfulness and mindset practices, because we already know that we can have emotions that are around words. So again, I'm going to use the word over coddling. It didn't trigger me, but I'm emotionally invested in that word because I think of all the grown-ups who treat children like little pieces of shit, and they think this word actually makes sense. And in my book, it doesn't, because you're not coddling over anything. It depends if they're, and it's not a black and white slate. But also, why would you actually bring into the mix not being able to be tender and kind and sweet with kids? Like, they're not a grown-up yet. And the fact that you wouldn't even want to accept the adolescent brain from 11 to 25, and you want to compare my era to the 14-year-old king and queen, sure, talk again to me about intelligence, please. I am not copying anyone who's an immature teenager. Actually, it makes a lot of sense why someone would say, give them cake when they're a 14-year-old. Now it makes a lot more sense, as otherwise it's like, how old are you? So mature people, yes, that's why advanced societies, they have mature people in them. It's not about the technology you create. And so mature human beings, when we hear those who lack the capacity to know that humanity is awesome, but yes, we learn in increments, we just keep it together. But I love mastering the Akashic sphere, as I'm going to bring it to you. So mental, emotional, physical plane. As a mystic, when I found out about 5D, I found out a lot of things, and mastering the sphere of that, which they call Akash, it's more of just becoming more and more of your prefrontal cortex. I like to bring the human elements to the spiritual and spirituality, so I don't confuse them. I'm here for the spiritual growing human beings too, because when you're living out your soul's purpose, you don't need it to have a word. You'll just know what you're here to do. I'm here to help you to continue being you, and then to know what infinite higher human conscious potential is like, and how to know you don't ever cease to be amazed by God, his creations, or Mother Earth and her creations, or Akash or Shiva or Shakti or all the words in the book. You bring it all in and you never cease to be amazed. Thank you, Neil deGrasse, by the stars and how the universe might end or not end. Thanks, Thomas Campbell, because science is not against spirituality. They actually are disproving that which is not true, which is the myth of us having any of our brothers or sisters who are not capable of accessing their own heaven in the body or their seat of enlightenment. Jesus, heaven in the body, Sadguru, seat of enlightenment. And so, a true guru, a true spiritual master, a true child of God in oneness will know all of our brothers and sisters, all of humanity on this earth can access their higher self if they want. And that means they can have compassion and love, and our animal kingdom will be saved, and sustainability. It's all happening. No, it's all possible. It's not utopistic, because humanity is capable of that which is called love. But if some don't want it, this is the song that does it. And so anyways, long story short, my point is that science proves that all of God's children are perfect. If they want it or not, they don't have to have it. That's the free will. At the same time, if somebody wants to bring in some evil story, what I can tell you is they're continuing to be the ones who don't want all of our brothers and sisters to get healed, because why would you deny that which is called the healthy version of all human beings? And why are you still, grouping things up in good or bad? So meat or alcohol or any of that stuff, moderation is king. And then again, treating animals with respect. And I say this to my regulars and the people who actually are just, it's humorous. That's all. I'm going to go on a tangent again. It's humorous to see people put the devil and demon and evil in the things they don't like. It's like watching it. Now I know the adopted child part is what it is. I have a word for it. It's a half a brained human being who's delusional, even though they're just, no, I'm not. And you're not. I'm delusional. I'm so sorry. Forgive me. I'm the delusional one, apparently, No, I'm not. But oh my God. I've heard some stories recently. I'm like, come on, you've got to be kidding me. So when people are regurgitating from books, and when I do this, I'm talking about Hansel and Gretel, I could do that too, but I don't try to build a little breadcrumb trails. I actually went about my business saying I'm going to help people when I grow up, and I'm doing it. And now I just know the ones who build their Hansel and Gretel, because you can see as they wield stories and fit it into puzzles. Now, when I'm coming here, I'm sharing with you different data points to say, okay, here's what you can notice about the ones who don't own all their child parts. They don't like to be coddled. I love to be all like gooey, ooey, ooey. Don't bring me your angry little sympathetic. Get away from me. I don't want to be around you. You're uncomfortable. That's why I don't like kids. They're uncomfortable. Get away from me. You don't know how to play nice. I don't want to play mean. I'm still kids. See, I'm just saying. I don't actually like kids that want to play mean. I never understood the jokes, and I learned how to take it. I'm a grown up. I'm so happy I'm a grown up. I still remember there were jokes that kids played that I didn't think were funny at all. I was 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Now I'm a grown human being. And when you meet those grown-ups who still think that their pranks are funny, and you're like, they're not. You're an asshole. Like, for real, you can't. And some, they're so good. Yeah, sure, we're all good. But now they're an asshole. They need to go do something about it. Their energy is like Dennis the Menace, but a grown version. So while Dennis the Menace, you can, take Dennis the Menace and work with that once they're grown up. Anyways, thanks for stopping by. Again, join us here at HP, our lovely 5D collective. It'll be nice to have you here. Have a good one.